Hello. My father passed away after a short illness, literally in 5 days at the age of 75. While I was watching him and knowing that he was dying, I cried from morning to night. He passed away the other day during the night, and I suddenly mobilized. I stopped crying. I immediately found a doctor, an agency to take care of him. I organized the funeral. Everyone around me is devastated, and they don't stop crying, my mother, my daughters, and my brother. But I can't seem to shed a tear. It's as if he's alive. It's as if his soul is with me. I mean, my father and I had a strong relationship, and I've always been good to him, and my conscience is clear that I was a good daughter. I'm currently working and I haven't stopped, which seems super strange to people, to me too. I just need to be among people. I am super emotional, and this state of complete indifference I am in now scares me. I am asking someone who has been down this path to share what it was like in the beginning.
That's such a powerful and honestly a really confusing experience that was just shared. So in this explainer, we're going to dive right into that. We're going to talk about what happens inside all of us when, after a huge loss, the tears just don't seem to come.
You know, that story we just heard is so deeply personal. But what's incredible is how many people it resonates with. It speaks to a surprisingly common experience. And it really brings up this huge question that anyone who's been through this asks themselves. Is this normal? Is there something wrong with me?
So let's get right to the most important message right up front. If you have ever felt this way, please hear this. What you are describing is absolutely 100% normal.
This isn't some kind of weakness, you know? It's not a character flaw or a sign that you didn't love the person enough. No. What it is a really well-understood and incredibly powerful response that our minds have when we're faced with something just overwhelming.
Losing a parent, it's just a monumental life event. And our reactions, they often don't line up with what we think they should be. So many of us have this idea in our heads of how we're supposed to react, right? And then we're shocked to find our minds and bodies doing something completely different.
And that really gets us to the heart of the matter. Why does this happen? Really, why do some people feel, well, numb? Or even this strange kind of functional indifference right after losing someone who meant the world to them?
Well, the answer is actually found in this fascinating and honestly incredibly effective protective mechanism our minds use during a crisis. Let's talk about something called psychological shock.
The term for this is emotional anesthesia. And isn't that a perfect way to describe it? It's like your brain just knows that the full force of that emotional pain would be way too much to handle all at once. So it kind of temporarily numbs the feeling, giving you the space you need just to function.
So, okay, how does this actually work? Well, you can think of it as a process of mobilization. First, the shock of the loss hits you. And in response to that, the most intense emotions are basically put on ice. They're frozen. This clears the way for the rational, logical part of your brain to step up and take charge, which is what allows you to handle all those necessary, practical things.
And you might ask, why is that rational takeover so critical? Well, think about it. In those first few hours and days, there are just so many urgent things that need attention, right? You've got to organize funerals, handle documents, you have to inform relatives calmly, and a lot of the time, you become the rock for everyone else. Your brain is prioritizing all of this to prevent a complete and total emotional system failure.
So here's the key takeaway, the most important point. This state, it is not a lack of love. It is not indifference. Actually, it's the exact opposite. It's a sign of profound care and responsibility. It's your mind's way of managing a crisis so you can do what needs to be done.
But, of course, those emotions don't just vanish forever. So what happens next? What happens after that initial phase of shock and just getting things done is over? Well, that's when the postponement of grief starts to end.
And you really have these two very different experiences. The initial reaction is all about that numbness, right? That focus on tasks. But later, the experience completely shifts. Grief can start to arrive in these huge waves, maybe triggered by a memory, a song, even a smell, and that leads to these sudden, really intense moments of emotion.
And this whole process unfolds over time. It's on instant. For the first few hours or days, shock is really the main thing. Then, maybe in the following weeks, you'll start to feel those first emotional waves. And it's so important to get this. Even months down the line, grief can still surface, a lot of times when you're least expecting it.
You know, back in that testimony we heard at the beginning, they mentioned staying busy with work and that need to be around people. And that's another completely valid, super common way of coping. Things like work, or just your daily routine and being with others, it can create a kind of safe zone where you can feel a little bit of control when everything else just feels so chaotic. Okay, so how do you navigate this? How do you get through this incredibly personal journey? Well, the two most important tools you have are self-compassion and just knowing that support is there for you when you need it. And look, while this whole process is normal, it can be really helpful to know when it might be a good idea to seek some professional support. For instance, if that numbness just keeps going for many months, or if you feel like all these emotions are just building up inside. Or hey, even if you just need a safe, neutral space to talk things through, speaking with a therapist can be so helpful.
Ultimately, and if you remember nothing else, please remember this: there is no single right way to grieve. There just isn't. Your experience is completely unique to you, to your relationship, to your life. Your path is your own.
So let's end on this really powerful and I hope compassionate thought. Not crying doesn't mean you're not grieving. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that your psyche is brilliantly taking care of the practical stuff first. It's protecting you until you're ready to feel the full weight of your loss. So please be patient with yourself and be kind to yourself as you go through this.